What's going on, beautiful people? I am Lee Hammock, the diagnosed self-aware narcissist known as mental illness, and welcome to another episode of A Narcissist Explains. A short edition, 5 minutes or less, y'all. Stick around to the end and subscribe to my newsletter. Today's episode is going to be about how just because a narcissist is in a long-term relationship doesn't mean that they are happy. Longevity does not equal happiness. Stay tuned, like, and subscribe. This person is saying the narcissist's next relationship won't last long because they are a narcissist. That can be true a lot of times, but sometimes the narcissist's next relationship with the new supply or whatever, the new relationship partner, can last a very, very long time. But what a lot of people don't understand is that longevity does not mean happiness. Just because people have been together for a very, very long time does not mean that they are happy together. I talk to people every day who's been in long-term relationship with narcissistic people, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. They were the narcissist's second or third husband or wife and things like that. And they just ended up with them the longest. And of course, it started off good at the beginning of the relationship, but it started to get bad, but the person never left because of the trauma bond. And typically people, older people don't know what they're dealing with when it comes to narcissistic personality disorder because a lot of the information wasn't available to them. Some of these long-term relationships that people admire, like your grandma and your grandpa's relationship who've been married for 50 years, they might have hated each other, but they stayed together because it looked good and, sometimes it's because of religious purposes. Longevity doesn't equal happiness. Welcome back. So if you couldn't read the text on the screen, it says, but guess what? It won't last because they're a narcissist. And I tell people, if a narcissist discards you, they break up with you or you break up with them and they move on to someone else, just because a relationship lasts a long time does not mean it's happy. I promise you, so I talk to people, I do my Zoom calls over one-on-one. I do one-on-one coaching and things like that, mentalillness.net. A lot of people are just like, oh, how long is the relationship going to last? How if they treat the new supply better, how long is it going to go on? I got 3-4 years out of it. How long can it go on? Like, if you lasted 3-4 years, what's stopping them from lasting 3 or 4 years to the next person? I tell people to turn off the narcissist TV. And what I mean by narcissist TV is don't watch the narcissistic person, y'all. Don't watch them. Because if you're watching them, you're thinking about them. If you're thinking about them, they are winning. It's a battle. It's literally a battle and things like that. We're dealing with narcissists and toxic people. You see what I'm saying? It's just like longevity. Just because they're in a long-term relationship does not mean that they were happy. Were you happy over the duration of your long-term relationship with this narcissistic or toxic person? You've been in it for 1, 2, 3, 10, 15, 20 years. Were you happy for the majority of the time? Why did it end? You know what I mean? Did you end it? If you ended it, why were you happy most of the time? I talked to a young lady today, this morning. Relationship, I think she said 8, I think she said 10 years. 8 years, something like that. So I forgot what she said. If you're watching this, I didn't forget what you said. I just wanted to disguise the time. It was 8 years. But she said 2 years in, she was unhappy. You know what I mean? Sometimes the relationship gets new life breathed into it. Sometimes the narcissist or you yourself, y'all perform CPR on a dead relationship and you revive it. You resuscitate a dead relationship and it lasts longer than what it needs to be. Just because we've been together for 10 years does not mean it's been 10 happy years. Just because your grandparents have been together for 50, 60 years does not mean it's been 50, 60, 70 happy years. You mean sometimes your grandparents hate your grandma, hates your damn grandpa. Sometimes your grandpa hates your grandma. They can't wait till they bury them. You know what I mean? They've been trying to cook each other for years. They sit in the house. Why do you think your grandma and your grandpa, the house is always hot in the wintertime? It's like in the summertime, it's like, hey, grandma, it's hot over here. Like, it's 95 degrees outside. Why is the heater on 97? Like you're trying to cook each other. We are. They're trying to boil each other out the house. Longevity does not mean happiness. Longevity does not mean, that it's been a happy relationship. Does not mean it's been a good relationship. I talk to so many people that have been in a long-term relationship with narcissists that are not happy that it's been a long-term relationship with a narcissist. You know what I mean? So you have to stay in power. You have to stay strong. I have 5 minutes or less, y'all. I was about to go off in this video, but like and subscribe for more. Subscribe to my newsletter, mentalillness.net. Like and subscribe. Mental Illness is out. Peace.